So as a consequence, then, the Islamic concept of divinity is missing a key element of personhood. For example, consider the qualities associated with the relationship. Only within a relationship can God express interpersonal attributes such as love, sympathy, intimacy, self-giving, and communication. Only distinctions between persons can there be giving and taking, in initiating, responding, sharing, and self-reflection, union, and communion. So when we say things like God is love, well, that's a characteristic version of God. God doesn't learn to love, and
it's part of the nature.
Yeah, having just a complete oneness of Himself, no three persons in a Godhead. God must create and then learn to love.
So in a God who is just one, if that God is going to love, that God has to create something to love, and therefore God's ability to love, we might say, is or God's actual loving is dependent on God's creation. Right. Because he has to create in order to love, because love you have to have relationship in order to love.
There's another thing focused within that. I love my car.
And of course, clearly, in monotheistic religions like this, they would not want to say that God is dependent on His creation. Right. For anything.
And we would agree. Yeah. We would agree.
Yeah. And so Christianity solves that issue.
Right. For God to be fully personal, then capable of love and community, there must be genuine plurality within the divine being itself. Historic Christian theology teaches that these interpersonal attributes were expressed from all eternity among three persons of the Trinity. In this way, Christianity is able to maintain within the Godhead the highest conception of what it means to be a personal being, self-reliance.
Right. Love, sympathy, intimacy, communication, all those types of things then is allowed for in the triune God, and is not allowed for if God is just one until after that God creates. And again, that makes God dependent on His creation.
Need to create.
Yeah.
And so we might ask something like, can God be a judge? Can he learn judgment? Because then he has to create, right? Well, being a judge isn't a characteristic imbued upon him. That's a role that he takes on. So if you were to come, a Muslim were to ask you that, well, God needs us in order to judge us and separate the sheep from the goats, right? And so he's dependent on us in order to be a judge. Well, judgment is something that he takes on as far as a role, but not something that's a characteristic within himself. So only a God of love is fully personal. Thus, the Trinity is crucial for maintaining a fully personal concept of God. And this explains a great deal of Muslim worship consistent in near mechanical rituals. Worships recite the Quran in unison, word for word, by memory, in the original Arabic. To quote this person, its spirituality is repetitious and impersonal, not a chosen, deliberate love of God from all your heart, mind, and soul. And so this oneness, this need to be separate from kind of His people. That's what the kind of the type of God Allah is that Muslims are worshiping. This is acceptable, the author says, because in Islam, understanding is secondary to recitation and ritual.
Yeah, they don't even have to understand what they're reciting. Yeah, it's just we might say mindless recitation.
Yeah, and even when you hear about Westerners being captured and they've accepted the teachings of Allah and accepted Quranic teaching. There's kind of this incantation that you do. So kind of like how Christians have this bizarre ritual of sinner's prayer that is not biblical, and if done just as a mantra, I don't even think the most Southern Baptist person would agree that brings about salvation. But within Islam, you don't even need to know the words. In fact, having a more precise pronunciation of the Arabic is way more important than your
understanding what it's saying. Right?
Yeah, your desire, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's that. So that's how it devalues us as well. It's kind of a mindless process that you don't even know. Your heart, soul, mind can be separate from your beliefs, and that's something that we don't see working within nature either. So it reduces humans within that kind of bifurcating aspect.
Yeah. Good. Yeah.